Fred Greenhalgh and Bill DeFries present The Dark Tome, Episode 1, Part 1, featuring the story The Devil on the Staircase by Joe Hill.
You know that phrase, books are a gateway to the imagination? Well, imagine it was true. Literally true. Yeah, I know. It's the oldest cliche out there. You forget that when you were young, books were like that. No matter where you were, no matter what was going on in the real world, when you opened a book, read those words, you could go to other worlds. And if you've forgotten that, if you think imagination is a toy to be locked in a box when the grown-up world comes crashing in with student loans, 30-year mortgages, and retirement accounts, then you must never have heard the legend of the Dark Tome. I mean, I never had either. Not until that May, when I was spending my suspension from school reading to Mr. Gussy in the stale air of Thompson's Memorial Hospital. It was Wilson, but he spoke no longer in a whisper. And I could have fancied that I myself was speaking while he said, "You have conquered, and I yield. Yet henceforward aren't thou also dead? Dead to the world and its hopes. In me didst thou exist, and in my death see by this image which is thine own, how utterly thou hast murdered thyself." Mr. Gussy? Mr. Gussy!
What is that crap? Get it out of here!
Mr. Gussy, sorry, I was,
Oh, goddamn Edgar Allan Poe. Come on, Cassie. You know I hate that guy. Long-winded and overrated, if you ask me. Could you find the book I told you about?
You told me to fetch you,
I told you to bring me the Dark Tome, not that crap. Give me that book.
Okay. Mr. Gussy, what are you doing?
What say of conscience grim indeed? I told you, the book I wanted, it would have had gold letters, the spine as smooth and white as my pale Anglo ass. It would look alive.
I didn't see any book like that.
Gah, what am I paying you for?
You're not. I volunteered.
Penance? 'Cause you ripped the hair out of that stupid girl.
Well, I did.
Don't worry, she deserved it. Have you seen the nurse? Good God, are they trying to stab me in here? Nurse! Nurse!
You have that clicker right there.
Yeah, next you'll tell me I need to get an app to get decent service around here. What did I pay into my pension for, if not to get a little help when I was on my deathbed?
You had a surgery, Mr. Gussy. You'll be out of here in a week.
Not if they kill me first with this horrible food. Nurse!
I've got to go, Mr. Gussy.
Where to? You got a date?
No.
It's gonna be something good. You think I'm gonna cover for you again after what you pulled last time?
What do you mean? If that nurse says I left early, Miss Pearson will flame me.
I'm just messing with you. Go on. Get out of here. I got your back.
Is everything okay?
'Tis not. You trying to kill me here?
Excuse me.
This grape juice. You tried drinking it lately? It's despicable.
We'd still be giving you milk if you hadn't snuck coffee brandy into the last carton.
It needs something to take the edge off, don't I? You won't even give me the good stuff.
Bye, Mr. Gussy.
Leaving so soon, Cassie?
I'm sorry. Got homework to do.
Oh?
I told her. She read me plenty for the day. She told me one of my favorite stories. William Wilson.
Of course. See you tomorrow, dear.
Bye.
You ever sit in one of these cots? The blankets, I swear, you make 'em out of sandpaper. And I should know. I worked in the number 10 mill for 30 years.
But of course, I didn't have any homework to do. I'd been kicked out of school for 2 weeks already. But I didn't go home either. I couldn't. My mom would be with him, drinking, and things got bad when they got drinking. So that left me with Mr. Gussy's bookshop. The spare key was tucked away in the brass bell outside, next to the plexiglass poster of Stephen King's Misery. It was that poster and the strange mummified hand next to it, Mr. Gussy said it was a monkey's, that kept most of the local kids out of that place. They made up stories and dared each other to go in, swipe a book. Some said there was a time, maybe 30 years ago, when a kid went in and never came out again. I never believed stories like that. The place was filled with paperback novels, stacks of them, with bone-like creases on their spines. Names like Kuntz, Matheson, Bradbury. You'd walk past those, worried Section Z for zombies would fall on your head.
Whoa.
To get to the antique wooden desk in the back. Pull back the creaky leather chair, roll up the thrift shop rug, and lift the trap door. Go down to the basement, where the walls got wobbly.
Cobwebs.
Down here, no one ever bothered me. I could have my blanket and curl up with a book and be taken away. There were plenty to choose from. Hardcovers, some with a film of dust you could write your name in, ran near to the ceiling. But there was only one book that really mattered. The Dark Tome. Of course, I already knew about the book. He had told me where to find it with impeccable instructions. I had already picked it up, felt the spine that rumor said was stitched from the skins of murdered babies. I had opened it long enough to read a few words and feel how, as the words parted my lips, the book's lettering faintly glowed, and the must of the basement faded away for the smell of salt from distant seas. Mom and school and Mr. Gussy and that gossipy bitch Kathy Skillings faded into nothingness. Last time I'd opened it, I'd shut it immediately. But now, I was ready. I opened the Dark Tome.
Okay. The Devil on the Staircase by Joe Hill. It goes, I was born in Sulle Scale, the child of a common bricklayer.
The village of my birth nested in the highest, sharpest ridges, high above Positano, and in the cold spring, the clouds crawled along the streets like a procession of ghosts. It was 820 steps from Sulle Scale to the world below. I know. I walk them again and again with my father, following his tread from our home in the sky and then back again. After his death, I walked them often enough alone.
It worked! It worked! Holy crap, it worked! There it is. The little village. What did they call it?
Positano.
Ah!
No need to be frightened, little girl.
Who are you?
A boy who used to live in this village. Well, I suppose I'm not a boy anymore. Look at it. The olive orchard, the ocean, the stairs. I knew each step of those stairs very well.
What happens now?
Will you continue reading, or... I don't know. It is up to you. I have all the time in the world.
Okay. Well, the next bit, it goes... Up and down I walked those stairs carrying freight.
Yes, up and down I walked those stairs, carrying freight, until with each step it seemed as if the bones in my knees were being ground up into sharp white splinters. Are you coming with me?
What?
Okay. The cliffs were mazed with crooked staircases, made from brick in some places, granite in others. Marble here, limestone there, clay tiles and beams of lumber. When there were stairs to build, my father built them. When the steps were washed out by spring rains, it fell to him to repair them. For years he had a donkey to carry his stone. After it fell dead, he had me. I hated him, of course. He had his cats, and he sang to them, and poured them saucers of milk, and told them foolish stories, and stroked them in his lap. And when one time I kicked one, I do not remember why, he kicked me to the floor, and said not to touch his babies. So I carried his rocks, when I should have been carrying school books, but I cannot pretend I hated him for that. I had no use for school, hated to study, hated to read, felt acutely the stifling heat of the single-room schoolhouse, the only good thing in it, my cousin, Lithadora, who read to the little children, sitting on a stool with her back erect, chin lifted high, and her white throat showing.
But Antoniello would not listen to reason. He made sure the king would kill Cienzo for his fault and said, "Don't stand here at risk of your life, but march off this very instant, so that nobody may hear a word, new or old, of what you have done. A bird in the bush is better than a bird in the cage. Here is money."
She's lovely.
Yes, I thought so too. I often imagined her throat was as cool as the marble altar in our church, and I wanted to rest my brow upon it as I had the altar. How she read in her low, steady voice, the very voice you dream of calling to you when you're sick, saying you will be healthy again, and know only the sweet fever of her body. I could have loved books if I had her to read them to me, beside me in the bed. I knew every step of the stairs between Sulescale and Positano. Long flights that descended through canyons and tunnels, bored in limestone, past orchards and the ruins of derelict paper mills, past waterfalls and green pools. I walked those stairs when I slept, in my dreams. The trail my father and I walked most often led past the painted red gate, barring the way to a crooked staircase. I thought those steps led to a private villa, and paid the gate no mind until the day I paused on the way down with a load of marble and leaned on it to rest, and it swung open to my touch. My father, he lagged 30 or so stairs behind me. I stepped through the gate onto the landing to see where these stairs led. I saw no villa or vineyard below, only the staircase falling away from me down among the sheerest of sheer cliffs.
Marco will be so pleased to receive
Father!
this.
Have you taken these stairs?
How did you open the red gate?
When he saw me standing outside the gate, he paled and had my shoulder in an instant.
It was open when I got here. Don't they lead all the way down to the sea?
No,
But it looks as if they go all the way to the bottom.
they go farther than that. The gate is always locked. Always. Padre, Filio, Spirito Santo. Padre, Filio, Spirito Santo. Padre, Filio, Spirito Santo.
And he stared at me, the whites of his eyes showing. I'd never seen him look at me so, had never thought I would see him afraid of me. Lithadora laughed when I told her and said my father was old and superstitious. She told me that there was a tale that the stairs beyond the painted gate led down to hell. I had walked the mountain 1,000 times more than Lithadora, and wanted to know how she could know such a story when I myself had never heard any mention of it. She said the old folks never spoke of it, but had written the story down in a history of the region, which I would know if I'd ever read any of the teacher's assignments. I told her I could never concentrate on books when she was in the same room with me. She laughed, but when I tried to touch her throat, she flinched. My fingers brushed her breast instead, and she was angry, and she told me that I needed to wash my hands.
Sounds like some boys I know, except today no one would have the decency to wash their hands. Hey, we're on the stairs again. Is that...
My father. It's a grisly little moment. Rather than step on the stray cat, my father stepped out into air and fell 50 feet. After that day, I found a more lucrative use for my donkey legs and yardarm shoulders than hauling those horrid tiles. I entered the employ of Don Carlotta, who kept the terraced vineyard in the steeps of Sullescale. I hauled his wine the 800-odd steps to Positano, where it was sold to a rich saracen, a prince, it was told, dark and slender, and more fluent in my language than myself, a clever young man who knew how to read things. Musical notes, the stars, a map, a sextant. Once, I stumbled on a flight of brick steps as I was making my way down with the Don's wine, and his strap slipped and the crate on my back struck the cliff wall, and a bottle was smashed. I brought it to the Saracen on the quay.
What is this?
Your bottle, sir. I slipped on the rocks.
Or you drank it, or you should have. That bottle was worth all you make in a month.
Pardon, sir. But my wages...
Are considered paid, and consider yourself paid well. Now go.
As he laughed, his white teeth flashed in his black face. I was sober when he laughed at me, but soon enough had a head full of wine. Not Don Carlotta's smooth and peppery red mountain wine, but the cheapest Chianti in the taverna, which I drank with a parcel of unemployed friends. Lithadora found me after it was dark, and she stood over me, her dark hair framing her cool, white, beautiful, disgusted, loving face. She said she had the silver I was owed.
Wine good, huh?
What do you mean you have the money?
I told Ahmed he had insulted an honest man, and that my family trades in hard labor, not lies. I told him he was lucky that I had not had...
Did you call him a friend? A monkey of the desert who knows nothing of Christ the Lord?
I see you have more use for the silver than you have for me.
The way that she looked at me then made me ashamed. The way she put the money in front of me made me more ashamed. I almost got up to go after her. Almost. One of my friends asked,
"Have you heard the Saracen gave your cousin a slave bracelet, a loop of silver bells to wear around her ankle? I suppose in Arab lands such gifts are made to every new whore in the harem."
You lie! Our father would never allow her to accept such a gift from a godless blackamoor.
He speaks the truth! The Arab trader is godless no more. Lithadora has taught Ahmed to read Latin.
No!
He claims now to have entered into the light of Christ. And he gave the bracelet to her with his full knowledge of her parents, as a way to show thanks for introducing him to the grace of our Father who art.
When my first friend had recovered his breath, he told me,
Lithadora climbs the stairs every night to meet with a Saracen in empty shepherd's huts or in the caves.
Ah, I heard it's among the ruins of the paper mills.
Or sometimes by the roar of the waterfall, wherever they can meet in secret, and in such places she is his tutor, and he a firm and most demanding pupil.
Tell me more of this.
He always goes first, and then she ascends the stairs in the dark, wearing the jangling bracelet. When he hears the bells, he lights a candle to show her where he waits to begin the lesson.
Perhaps she will teach another lesson tonight.
We're on the cliffs again. What are we doing here? It's cold.
I was so drunk. I set out for Lithadora's house with no idea what I meant to do when I got there. I came up behind the cottage where she lived with her parents, thinking I would throw a few stones to wake her and bring her to her window. But As I stole toward the back of the house, I heard a silvery tinkling somewhere above me. She was already on the stairs and climbing into the stars with her white dress swinging from her hips and the bracelet around her ankle so bright in the gloom. My heart thudded, a cask flung down a staircase. Doom, 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 doom. I knew the hills better than anyone, and I ran another way, making a steep climb up crude steps of mud to get ahead of her, then rejoining the main path up to Sulescale. I still had the silver coin the Saracen had given her. When she went to him and dishonored me by begging him to pay me the wage I was properly owed. I put his silver in a tin cup I had and slowed to a walk and went along shaking his Judas coin in my old battered mug. Such a pretty ringing it made, in the echoing canyons, on the stairs, in the night high above Positano, and the crash and sigh of the sea as the tide consummated the desire of water to pound the earth into submission. At last, pausing to catch my breath, I saw a candle flame leap up off in the darkness. It was in a handsome ruin, a place of high granite walls matted with wildflowers and ivy. A vast entryway looked into a room with a grass floor and a roof of stars, as if the place had been built not to give shelter from the natural world, but to protect a virgin corner of wilderness from the violation of man. Then again, it seemed a pagan place, the natural setting for an orgy hosted by fauns with their goatee hooves, their flutes, and their furred cocks. So the archway into that private courtyard of weeds and summer green seemed the entrance to a hall awaiting revelers for a private bacchanal. He waited on spread blanket with a bottle of the Dome's wine and some books, and he smiled at the tinkling sound of my approach, but stopped when I came into the light. A block of rough stone, already in my free hand.
You have come. Yes.
No! You killed him!
I did not kill him out of family honor or jealousy. Did not hit him with the stone because he had laid claim to Lithodora's cool white body, which he would never offer me. I hit him with the block of stone because I hated his black face. After I stopped hitting him, I sat with him. I think I took his wrist to see if he had a pulse. But after I knew he was dead, I went on holding his hand, listening to the hum of the crickets in the grass, as if he were a small child, my child, who had only drifted off after fighting sleep for a very long time. What brought me out of my stupor was the sweet music of bells coming up the stairs toward us. I leapt up and ran, but Dora was already there, coming through the doorway, and I nearly struck her on my way by. She reached out for me with one of her delicate white hands and said my name, but I did not stop. I took the stairs 3 at a time, running without thought, but I was not fast enough, and I heard her when she shouted his name once and again.
Ahmed! Ahmed!
I don't know where I was running. Sulescale, maybe, though I knew they would look for me there first, once Lithodora went down the steps and told them what I had done to the Arab. I did not slow down until I was gulping for air and my chest was filled with fire. And then I leaned against a gate at the side of the path. You know what gate. And it swung open at first touch.
I don't want to go down there.
But you know it's where the story goes. Besides, I thought no one would look for me here, and I can hide a while.
No,
I thought these stairs will lead to the road, and I will head north to Napoli and buy a ticket for a ship headed to the U.S. and take a new name and start anew.
No!
No. Enough. The truth? I believe the stairs led down into hell, and hell was where I wanted to go.
You've been listening to The Dark Tome, Episode 1, Part 1. Part 2 is available now. Check out our feed, The Dark Tome, on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts to hear the remainder of the story. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes. Leaving reviews allows us to get more listeners like you, so we can keep bringing good stories. The Dark Tome is part of Wondery, a network of storytellers. Be sure to check out our sister podcasts, The Cleansed and Radio Drama Revival, also on Wondery. The Dark Tome is a co-production of Final Rune and Mind's Eye Productions. Check out thedarktome.com for more.